The wine glass trembled in Amira's hand as she stared at her phone screen. The message had arrived at exactly 8:47 p.m., right in the middle of Thomas cutting into his steak. The sender was a number she hadn't heard from in 3 years, her brother Isaiah. The same brother who had walked out of her life after their parents' funeral, claiming she had chosen money over family. Get up and go. Don't say anything to your husband. He married you for your inheritance and tonight he'll act. Amira's heart hammered against her ribs, but she forced her face to remain calm. Across the candlelit table at Romano's, their favorite restaurant where Thomas had proposed 2 years ago, her husband was smiling at her with those perfect white teeth. The same smile that had charmed her at the charity gala where they first met. The same smile that had convinced her to say yes when he asked her to marry him after only 6 months of dating. Everything okay, sweetheart? Thomas asked, his voice smooth as silk. His dark eyes searched her face with what she had always thought was concern. Now, with Isaiah's words burning in her mind, she wondered if it was something else entirely. You look pale. Just a work email, Amira managed, setting her phone face down on the white tablecloth. Her fingers felt numb. Nothing urgent. Thomas reached across the table and covered her hand with his. His touch, which had once made her feel safe, now made her skin crawl. On our anniversary? Tell whoever it is that Mrs. Amira Richardson is off limits tonight. Mrs. Amira Richardson. She had been so proud to take his name, to finally have someone who wanted to build a life with her. After losing her parents in the car accident 3 years ago, she had felt so alone. Thomas had appeared like a guardian angel, filling the empty spaces in her heart and her life. But Isaiah's message suggested it had all been a lie. You're right, she said, picking up her wine glass with a steady hand. Inside, her thoughts were racing like wild horses. Could Isaiah be telling the truth? Her brother had always been protective, sometimes to a fault. But he had also accused her of caring more about their parents' money than their memory. The fight had been brutal and she hadn't spoken to him since. Why would he contact her now? And why tonight? Thomas was talking about their weekend plans, his voice a comfortable background hum. She nodded and smiled in all the right places, but her mind was elsewhere. 3 years ago, when her parents died, she had inherited everything Richardson Industries, their real estate holdings, stocks, bonds, and a trust fund worth millions. Thomas had been so supportive during the legal process, helping her understand the complex paperwork, suggesting lawyers and financial advisors. Had he been planning this from the beginning? I love watching you think, Thomas said, his thumb stroking across her knuckles. Your mind is always working. It's one of the things that attracted me to you. Amira looked at him carefully. Really looked. The expensive suit that he claimed was a gift from his mother. The watch that he said was a family heirloom. The easy confidence of a man who had never wanted for anything. She had been so blinded by grief and loneliness that she had never asked the hard questions. Thomas, she said carefully, tell me again how your family made their money. He didn't miss a beat. Old railroad money, remember? My great-grandfather built half the lines between here and Chicago. But you know how it is with old families, most of it's tied up in trusts and property. I've always had to make my own way. She had heard this story dozens of times, but now it felt rehearsed, polished, like something he had practiced in front of a mirror. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Isaiah. He's been planning this for months. Get out now. Trust me. Amira's hands were steady now, her mind clearing. She had built Richardson Industries from a small family business into a major corporation. She hadn't done that by panicking or making rash decisions. If Isaiah was right, if Thomas really was after her money, then she needed evidence. She needed to be smart. Excuse me, she said, standing gracefully. I need to powder my nose. Thomas started to stand, but she waved him down. Finish your steak. I'll be right back. In the bathroom, she called Isaiah with shaking fingers. Amira? His voice was tight with worry. Is this real? She whispered. I've been tracking him for weeks. He's done this before. There was a woman in Portland 2 years ago, another in Denver. Both wealthy widows. Both lost everything. The world tilted. She gripped the marble counter to steady herself. How do you know all this? Because I hired a private investigator 6 months ago. I was worried about you and I was right to be. Amira, he's going to drug you tonight. The plan is to get you to sign papers while you're not thinking clearly. By tomorrow morning, he'll have access to everything. Amira stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her dark skin looked ashen, her usually bright eyes wide with shock. But underneath the fear, something else was building. Something hot and fierce. What do I do? Leave. Right now. Don't go back to the table. Don't go home. Come to my apartment. We'll figure this out together. She closed her eyes. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of thinking she had found her partner, her equal, her future. 3 years of lies. Amira? Are you there? I'm here. Her voice was stronger now. Send me your address. When she walked back to the table, Thomas was on his phone. He hung up quickly when he saw her. Work call, he said apologetically. Sorry, baby. Where were we? Actually, Amira said, picking up her purse, I'm not feeling well. I think I might be coming down with something. Concern flooded his face. Perfect, loving concern. Oh no. Do you want to go home? I can take care of you. No. You stay and finish your dinner. I'll just catch an Uber home and get some rest. Are you sure? I don't mind. I'm sure. She leaned down and kissed his cheek, the same cheek she had kissed goodbye that morning when she thought her biggest worry was whether to wear the blue dress or the black one to dinner. I love you. The words tasted like poison in her mouth. I love you too, sweetheart. Feel better. I'll be home soon. Amira walked out of Romano's with her head high and her shoulders straight. Behind her, she left her anniversary dinner, her wine glass still half full, and her marriage to a man she was beginning to realize she had never really known at all. The cool night air hit her face as she stood on the sidewalk, phone in hand, ordering a car that would take her away from the life she thought she knew and toward a truth she wasn't sure she was ready to face. But ready or not, she was going to face it. The text from Isaiah had changed everything. And there was no going back. The Uber driver kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, probably wondering why a woman in an expensive dress was crying silently in the back seat at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night. Amira didn't care. The tears weren't from sadness, they were from rage so pure it felt like acid in her veins. Isaiah's apartment was in a part of town she rarely visited, 20 minutes from the restaurant but a world away from her usual life. As the car wound through narrow streets lined with converted warehouses and art studios, she thought about all the signs she had missed. The way Thomas always seemed to know exactly what to say when she was feeling overwhelmed by business decisions. How he had encouraged her to simplify her financial arrangements, to consolidate accounts, to trust him with more and more responsibilities. The subtle way he had isolated her from old friends, claiming they were jealous of her success or didn't understand their love. Her phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. Hope you're feeling better, baby. Taking care of the check now. See you at home. Love you. The casual normalcy of it made her stomach turn. This is it, the driver said, pulling up to a brick building with large windows and a heavy wooden door. Thank you, she managed, tipping him in cash. Isaiah was waiting for her in the lobby. 3 years had changed him. He looked older, more serious, with new lines around his eyes and gray threading through his hair at the temples. But when he saw her, his face crumpled with relief and something that looked like shame. Amira. He wrapped her in a hug that smelled like coffee and old books. For a moment, she was 16 again and he was 21, and he was telling her everything would be okay after their parents had missed another school play because of work. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry I waited this long. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. She pulled back and looked at him. Tell me everything. All of it. His apartment was exactly what she expected, books everywhere, a computer setup that looked like mission control, and the kind of organized chaos that meant a brilliant mind at work. He made coffee while she sat on his couch, still in her anniversary dress, still trying to process that her entire life had just collapsed. Start from the beginning, she said when he handed her a mug. Isaiah sat across from her, his own coffee untouched. 6 months ago, I got a call from Mom and Dad's old lawyer, Henderson. He was retiring and wanted to make sure all the estate paperwork was in order. When he started going through the files, he noticed some irregularities. What kind of irregularities? Documents that had been amended after the original will was filed. Signatures that looked questionable. He was concerned enough to call me instead of you because he remembered our parents mentioning that I had power of attorney for some medical decisions. Amira's hands tightened around the mug. Thomas helped me with all that paperwork. He said his family lawyer could handle everything more efficiently. That family lawyer doesn't exist, Amira. The man you met was Thomas's partner in this. They've been running this scam for at least 4 years, maybe longer. The coffee turned bitter in her mouth. You said there were other women. Isaiah nodded grimly. Patricia Collins in Portland. Divorced, inherited her ex-husband's tech company. She met Thomas at a business conference 2 years ago. They were married within 8 months. By the time she realized what was happening, he had transferred most of her assets into accounts she couldn't access. What happened to her? She tried to fight it, but the documentation was so good that the courts ruled in his favor. She lost everything. Last I heard, she was working as a manager at a small marketing firm trying to rebuild. Amira set down her coffee cup with shaking hands. And the woman in Denver? Susan Miller.